What's up, Star Wars fans? I'm the Master of Movies Clay from the Hills Maniacs, and today I'm going to be bringing you my recasting for Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with these, I did one for Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, which you can go check out on our channel. So basically, I'm recasting the movie if it were to be made today with people from today's actors and actresses. And I have a couple rules that I follow, so I can't do anybody that's already in Star Wars in any way, whether voice acting or actually on camera. And I can't do people that have died, because it has to be people that can actually act in the movie now. So I'll start this off with characters that were already cast in one of the other two, and I won't go in detail as to why I casted them as who I did, because I did that in the movie that I casted them in. So I basically just go by the first appearance of that character and go with that one and use the same person the whole way through. I might change it up, like for 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9 when some of the characters are older. I might use a different actor, but then the person I cast is the younger version, but we'll see when I get there. So we'll start by going over the people that I already cast in previous ones, whether it be Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones. And then we'll go into some of the new characters. There's only 4 or 5 new characters for Revenge of the Sith from people that were already talked about before. All these ones before that will be people that I previously casted, and if you want to know why I casted who I did in that position, you can go watch the other 2 videos that we did, and then once we get done with the movies, then we'll go into the series like the Clone Wars and things, and we'll go in order for those 2, which those should be fun because there's a lot of characters in the Clone Wars. So the first character that I had already cast was obviously Palpatine, with him being the main villain of pretty much every movie. He had to be cast in the Phantom Menace, and I picked Ralph Fiennes for Palpatine. Another character from the Phantom Menace would have been Mace Windu. And for Mace Windu, I cast Idris Elba. Next character is Newt Gunray, or Viceroy, or whatever you want to call him, also in the Phantom Menace. He's not as prominent in Revenge of the Sith, but he is still in it, because Anakin ends up killing him on Utapau. And I put Bill Murray. The next one is one of the main characters, kind of, and that's Padme. This will be her last appearance on this list, but I put Jenna Ortega as Padme. The next one I cast, who's in every movie, so he's got a lot of work to do, and I know he kind of retired from acting, but I put him here anyways, and that's Jim Carrey, and I put him as C-3PO, and then of course one of the main 2 characters you have to cast, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I did Christian Bale for Obi-Wan. Yoda, again, has a big role in this movie. Bigger than the previous 2 movies, at least. And so I cast Danny DeVito as Yoda. Mas Amedda, who is the Chancellor's kind of right-hand man. He's like the guy with purple skin with the 2 big horns on his head. He's always with Chancellor Palpatine, and he has kind of a deeper voice, so I cast Mahershala Ali as Mas Amedda. Next one is Luminara Unduli. We do see a glimpse of her on Kashyyyk, and she's not as prominent in this movie. She was somewhat prominent in Attack of the Clones. She was part of the Battle of Geonosis, and then Clone Wars, she has a bigger role, obviously, as most Jedi did. And I cast Zoe Saldana as Luminara Unduli. Bail Organa is in this, obviously the adoptive father of Princess Leia, which we see at the end of this, and then obviously we don't see him in any more movies after this. but he is in some of the TV series. So I cast Michael Douglas as Bail Organa. Next, we have Owen and Beru Lars, who we see for the second time, technically, because they were in Attack of the Clones. They weren't married yet, but I think they're married in this one, and they become the adoptive parents, even though they're called his aunt and uncle. Luke still calls them aunt and uncle. But they take Luke, after he's born, after Padme dies. So I did Matt Damon as Owen Lars and Anna Paquin as Beru. Ayla Secura, who gets killed in this movie, I cast Angelina Jolie. And again, Ayla Secura has a bigger role in the Clone Wars. Coyote Mundi, who again dies in this, but also has a bigger role in the Clone Wars. Tom Hanks, I casted as Coyote Mundi. And of course, Count Dooku, who dies in this movie, Mel Gibson. And for me, that's one of those castings that I was very proud of, because I feel like Mel Gibson would do great as Count Dooku in that role. So Count Dooku, who, and again, is prominent in the Clone Wars. Kit Fisto, I cast Orlando Bloom. Plo Koon, Liev Schreiber. So that was it for the Jedi that get killed. The clones that are in this, because they're still clones in Revenge of the Sith, they're not stormtroopers yet. So I cast James McAvoy as the clones. And then for battle droids who are still in this is the last movie appearance of battle droids, at least for now. And I cast Owen Lars as the voice of the battle droids. And then, of course, last but not least, from the ones that were already cast in previous movies, you have to do the main antagonist of this movie, that being Anakin Skywalker. So I cast Will Poulter. So that's it for the ones that were already cast. There is 5 new ones, roughly. And again, this is just main characters. It's not going to be somebody that was, the 33rd background character in a scene or something. I just tried to do the people that, unless they showed up in another project later on and had an importance in that, then I would cast them in this. But for the most part, it was just these 5 characters. So the first one I'm going to do is Tion Medon, who is the chairman, prime minister, whatever you want to call him, the leader of Utapau in Revenge of the Sith. And I cast Brad Dourif as Tion Medon. I just feel that he'd be able to kind of have that. I mean, you don't really see much from him in this, but I think just hearing that voice, where he'd be able to still make the character important without having to take over the role. And because without Tion Medon telling Obi-Wan that there's battle droids and that Grievous is there, Obi-Wan may have just left and Grievous would have stayed alive. So he does kind of play a role in this, and I just think Brad Dourif would be able to really emphasize that character for his minor part that he has, to still be able to bring that character to life. Next, I have Chewbacca, and I'm going to do Chewbacca and all the Wookiees, I guess, because they're all kind of the same. Yeah, they have different, tones and pitches with their noises that they make, but for the most part, they're all pretty much the same. So I'm going to cast Vin Diesel as Chewbacca, Tarful, all the other Wookiees we see throughout the series, even Chrysanthemum later on in the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, they could put somebody else in the suit. They could let him be in the suit. It's up to them, but I just feel that him doing the voice of that, because he does Groot, and he has to give different layers of exaggeration to his voice, and if Groot's sad, he has to kind of have a sad voice. He has to have an angry voice. So he has to have that range, and I think he'd be able to do that with these characters, even though they don't really talk at all. I think he'd be able to still have that range without saying anything and just doing the growls or whatever you want to call them. The next one, who, again, this is his first movie appearance, but is not his first appearance in Star Wars. I mean, technically it would have been release-wise, but chronologically he was in the Clone Wars first. That's the main villain of this film, kind of, at least at the start. And that's General Grievous, the leader of the droid army. And it was hard trying to find somebody that I think would have been good as General Grievous, because he does have that raspier voice. He is a cyborg type character. You know, he's like an alien with metal plating on him and stuff, because he's been through so much and he's just been put back together so much. It was hard to find somebody to kind of fit that, and you need somebody that can have that type of voice and still make you kind of hate the character, while also understanding where he's coming from. And I had a couple people that I was trying to choose from, and I ended up going with F. Murray Abraham for General Grievous. I just feel like, you look at what he did in Moon Knight. He was the voice of Khonshu. I feel that him having that deeper voice in that is what led me to choose him for this, because I think that voice could be brought to General Grievous, and really make you feel the impact of how truly evil General Grievous is and why he hates the Jedi so much. And then again in the Clone Wars, when he's more prominent, I think it'll be one of those things where you'll hear that voice a lot more, and you'll just get so used to that being General Grievous. I think it works perfectly. So I ended up going with F. Murray Abraham as General Grievous. The last character, it's not really a character. It's a character that's already cast, but is the voice of a character. And that's one of the most impactful voices you will hear in Star Wars. That is, of course, the voice of Darth Vader. This, for me, needed to be like the perfect casting, because James Earl Jones did a fantastic job as Vader. It's that iconic voice. You know, when you watch Star Wars for the first time, if you get to those three movies, and the first time Vader starts talking, you hear James Earl Jones, you immediately just recognize that voice as Darth Vader. And with Vader being my favorite character, it had to be one of those like perfect castings. And I did a lot of research. I found a lot of names that I could have chose for this, and none of them really fit when I thought about it in my head. None of them really fit that voice, and I ended up deciding to go with Keith David for the voice of Darth Vader. I've watched clips of some of the work he's done voice acting before, and he has that deeper kind of voice, and I feel that he would be able to bring the character of Darth Vader to life. And then in the suit would be Will Poulter, just because he was Anakin and then he ends up in the suit. So Will Poulter would be Anakin / Darth Vader, and then Keith David's voice for Darth Vader, because it had to be somebody that I knew would be the perfect casting for Star Wars. And that was like the first character I casted, was the voice of Darth Vader, and I did a lot of research to find it, and that's who I went with. So anyways, guys, there you go. That is my recasting for Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please go back and check out Episodes 1 and 2, The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, that I did recasting for this. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, because it gives me that opportunity to go through and see who I would cast as these characters. Not that anybody should be recasted, but if they were going to remake Star Wars, which they shouldn't, but if they were to recast it, and there's a lot of actors that I wish would have been in Star Wars and aren't yet, and they could be somewhere down the line if they keep making shows and movies and whatever. But I just feel like this is where these characters would fit in Star Wars, and so that's why I casted these characters the way I did. And I'm having a lot of fun doing this. Everybody in Star Wars already does an amazing job playing the characters that they're playing. But for me, it was just fun to go back through and see who I would put in these movies if I was in that position. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Go back and check out the other two. Stay tuned for the other ones I got going up on later on, because the next one I believe is Solo, a Star Wars story. So that should be fun to cast, and then Rogue One, and then on to the original trilogy, if I have that in the right order, which I think I do. And let me know in the comments who you would cast in some of these roles, and if you agree or disagree with who I put. So yeah, stay tuned for what else we got going on, and I'll see you guys in the next one. May the Force be with you.